ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Collider episode 24.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
We need to get cracking because we've got a lot to talk about today.
We do, and it wasn't helped by a slight level of incompetence on my part. My apologies, chaps.
What did you do, Andy?
I may have failed to press a button properly, and we have now talked for the last 20 minutes without my input, which some may count as a blessing, others may not. So it's basically Steve answering questions that didn't exist.
It might make for some odd pauses in the conversation.
Indeed.
Oh, dear. Anyway,
this time it's going to be even better.
Exactly, John, exactly. This is going to be an optimised version.
So just bear that in mind when you realise how shit it is the second time round.
when people press the record button, this is a podcast about board games and tabletop gaming.
It is indeed. Does it include role-playing games, Steve?
Not today, no.
Not today, that's good. Do they count as board games, though?
No, they don't.
Good, excellent.
Are you sure?
Oh, God.
There was some debate on one of the board game chat bits and pieces on Facebook. Do you know, this really does feel like Groundhog Day, like we've done
Honestly,
this before.
seriously, I've got a serious sense of deja vu right now.
Steve's got his head in his hands.
Not for the first time. And almost certainly not for the last.
Yeah, probably not.
It won't be for the last time in this episode, I don't
You
think.
beat me to that one. Come on, I'm involved. It's got to involve a facepalm at some point.
Anyway. So, we'll start off proceedings by talking about a little game called Dark Souls.
Little.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, no, little, it's bloody huge.
Exactly. And doesn't it come in like 3 bits?
I don't know, actually. The box we've got so far is just the core box.
Right.
And it's still a huge, it's like a Mansions of Madness size box now.
That's a big box.
And it doesn't include any of the Kickstarter extras.
See, didn't you say there was like furniture to follow? Isn't this like some kind of shit IKEA delivery? You know, you've bought it and bought a few bits and bobs, and the trucker gets lost and turns up a few days later when you're back at work and you've taken a few days off to build the shit.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, what's supposed to happen is there's just not normal Kickstarters. There was a core game. There was a load of extras and stretch goals that they unlocked, and there was a couple of add-ons. And what they've shipped so far is just the core game, so it doesn't include any of the stretch goals or any of the add-ons. And what we were discussing online earlier this week was one of the things they haven't done so far is the furniture add-on, which adds in the scenery, like treasure chests and barrels and doors and things like that.
The best thing about Dark Souls is the furniture.
Or it will be when it gets here.
So yeah, we're not going to get that till October, apparently.
Jesus, that's a hell of a gap. What if people have got
It is,
bored with
yeah.
it by then?
That's my worry, yes.
At least you kind of get some extra bonus stuff. Like, you'll have forgotten about this, I reckon. And then suddenly you'll get a delivery and be like, oh yeah, furniture!
It's quite funny seeing all the people trying to flog their copy on the Facebook groups as well this week.
Really, as a load of flippers.
I'm selling my Kickstarter copy of Dark Souls for 100 quid, and everyone's going, I can buy it 80 quid in the shops, but this is the Kickstarter version.
Exactly the same.
No, it's not, because there isn't a Kickstarter version at this point.
But does it come with the promise of furniture to come? Now, there's a catch for you.
I'll tell you what it does do. You open the box, and the first thing you see is a black piece of paper which in red says, "You died."
Brilliant.
Nice. Well, I suppose it sets the scene.
If you've ever played the computer games, you see that screen a lot.
Is it, perchance, a difficult game?
Yes.
I think saying it's a difficult game, well, the video games anyway, is like saying... No, I haven't got a good analogy, but... but they're like probably the hardest games I've ever played, I would say.
Is it harder than the crossword in the Herald?
I don't know.
I'm not even clever enough to know what the Herald is.
It's a Scottish newspaper.
Well, why would we know that?
You've got a house in Scotland. That's close enough.
Yeah, I go on holiday.
You're not cultured enough. You should have copies of the local newspaper and rags scattered across the coffee table when you have visitors up there. Because obviously, you know, you go to the middle of nowhere in Scotland, and the first people want to do is read the Herald, obviously, over a cup of tea and scones.
You hit on the crucial point there. Wouldn't it be a cup of tea and a haggis?
An entire
You
haggis.
hit on a crucial point, though, that
Caught fresh.
it's a really remote location. there isn't any papers out there. If the delivery boy had to do a paper round, it would be like a 50-mile round trip.
Oh, at least he'd be fit for it.
Yeah, you could certainly say that.
Anyway, sorry. Rabbit hole.
So
It's not like you, Andy.
what's the board game like, Steve?
So the board game is. It's going to be very divisive, I think.
Why?
What makes you say that?
Now, two of us have played some of the Soulsborne games. So,
Soulsborne. I like that.
yes, I've played a couple of Dark Souls games and I've played Bloodborne. I know John's played Bloodborne. I don't think you've played any Dark Souls, have you?
No, that's right.
No, but they're more or less the same. It's a board game which perfectly replicates the Dark Souls experience, down to the frustratingness, the difficulty, and there's a point in Dark Souls and Bloodborne when you're ready to launch the controller out the window.
In my experience, that's about 5 minutes after I start playing, and it continues for every about 5 minutes.
Wow.
Why did I even go out there? I didn't need to go and get that stuff, and I'm dead again. Now I've got to go back to that place.
Fuck it. We'll leave it.
Because every time you die in the video games, you kind of drop your sort of progress so far to some extent. And yet, to go and get that back, you have to go and grab that wherever you dropped it. So if you were like halfway through a boss fight, there's going to be some souls hanging around near a boss. Or if it was in a really nasty place where there's loads of other people, you got to kill enough people to grab the stuff that you had previously before you get trashed again. And the worst thing is that if you get trashed in the process of retrieving your previous progress, you lose all that progress.
Oh, that's punishing. So does that happen in the board game as well then?
Yes.
Ow.
Exactly the same. So what the board game does is the board game lays down a series of square tiles which represent encounters. And what you'll do is you'll go into a room, you'll reveal what's in that encounter, monsters will be put up, you've got to go try and hack them to pieces before they hack you to pieces. When you've cleared the room, you gain souls, and the number of souls you get depends on the number of players there are.
Right.
If, however, one character dies, and it only needs to be one, everyone respawns back at the bonfire, and any souls you collected at that point get dropped in that room.
By the bonfire or where you die?
Where you died.
Right, okay.
Actually, on the spot you died. It does actually say that. It goes on the actual spot you died.
Does this have to be millimetre perfect on the cardboard? Otherwise arguments break out like in 40k.
No, actually, that's the really nice thing about this game. This game does this thing with nodes. So rather than having a grid, each tile has got these little. It's full of circles, which are called nodes, and basically you can move to any of the 8 neighbouring nodes from where you are. So basically, rather than being a grid or being like a hex space thing, you've effectively got like an octagon you can move in. And you can put like, I think it's 3 models are allowed on any one node, so you can push things and pull things and move them around. It's a really clever movement system. At first, it feels like a bit of a con, and once you start using it, you realise it gives you a lot more freedom of movement than like hexes or grids would.
It does sound quite fluid.
Yeah, so there's more directions you can go in, which sounds quite good. So presumably, does that feed the combat then? Because from what you've said before, I think we talked about Dark Souls last year, maybe. Was that Blood Rage? I can't remember. Where you can sort of combat is directional, so you can attack a bad guy from the side, for example, and you'll do more damage, or you'll hit a weak spot or something.
Yes, so if you're fighting the normal grunts, as it were, they're non-directional, so you can attack them from any angle. But you can think about when they activate, there's like an AI, and they either try and attack the nearest player, or they attack the player with the aggro token, which is basically the person who's last been. If that happens, you can then use tactics to try and manoeuvre around. Now, at the end of, once you've gone through 4 of these rooms, you'll go into a boss room, which is the real highlight of the game. This is the best bit in the game by far, where you meet this boss miniature, and he's not kidding. He's like 10 to 15 centimetres tall, this miniature is.
That's pretty
Pretty
big.
epic, isn't it?
I love the way you're
Yeah.
indicating to video so all of our podcast
Yes.
listeners can see just how large this miniature is. You fucking twonk.
At least he's recording.
That's true. Oh, shit, I'm not. Only kidding.
I was about to hang up then. Once is bad enough.
Yeah.
Twice.
I've been wanting to say that for about 5 minutes.
But you're right, Andy. These boss miniatures, they have this. They have like you draw a deck of cards,
Right.
And each card will have its actions, which again is usually a movement and attack. And its movements and attacks will be bosses will be like they'll hit half the room or whatever. But it also reveal like a weak spot. And so if you attack from that weak spot, you roll extra dice of damage.
Oh, nice. So if you're drawing cards from a deck, does that give the potential that the boss could do something really dumb, like sort of swipe right when everyone's over to his left? Or does it say more sensible thing? Oh, right. Oh, that seems a bit daft.
Yeah, it is exactly that. But, yeah, but if you've played any of the bosses in Dark Souls, that's the kind of thing they do. They have these kind of set routines where they'll do this attack and they'll do that attack. And if you can get out to the side of it before it does it, then you expose his weak spot and get out of the area of attack.
Well, it sounds like Legend of Zelda.
Well, yeah, because it's that kind of Japanese boss battle. It's from Software, they're a Japanese company, so it is exactly that.
Oh, okay.
And the other clever thing is this deck of cards doesn't get shuffled.
Oh, so you can learn his movements.
So if you can learn the sequence of movements and work out where he's going to attack and where his weak spots are, you can try and position yourself.
So it is very much like a computer game. Obviously.
And that does help in the sense that if you have to go back and try and recover things, at least you potentially have some idea of what's going to happen. So presumably over time, it kind of gets easier as long as you don't get too screwed over getting back to it.
Yes.
And therein lies the difficulty. If you, say for example, if you get to the boss fight and then you get mullered and you go buggering right back to the start, do you have to fight your way back through the grunts or do they stay dead?
Yep.
There was two questions there.
You have to fight your way back, Andy.
You have to fight your way back through everything.
Oh, Jesus. That could get frustrating.
Which is where I think this game's going to be divisive. I think people who have played Dark Souls and Bloodborne are going to see this mechanic and go, "Oh yeah, it's it is. They've managed to make a Dark Souls board game." Whereas people who haven't got that kind of investment or back knowledge, as it were, are going into this and go, "That's bloody stupid, isn't it?"
People who haven't yet developed a thick enough skin about being screwed over again and again and again.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, because Steve has insinuated over the last couple of days that I would probably not look upon this game in a favourable light. However, I don't know, because I have a very stubborn streak within me. So I'm, as you may or may not have noticed, and I don't know, I might actually quite like that, just to get through. God damn it, I am not letting these bastards beat me.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so appealing. I mean, we said in the last podcast that I don't play solo games. We all kind of said, "Oh, don't play a solo game, I'll play a video game."
Yeah.
Well, I've played Dark Souls 3 times in the last 2 days on my own.
So it's quite fun then, Steve. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm really enjoying it, but I do wonder how much of that is my belligerence. So I'm going to beat this damn thing. I'm going to get to the boss. And I'm going to bloody kill it.
Even if it costs me my dinner. Dinner's ready. I'm playing a game. It's getting cold. I'm going to beat him. I've just been killed, for fuck's sake. I'm going to kill him.
I'll be there in 5. I will definitely do it this time. Definitely do it.
You're still
And
playing,
then 10
aren't
minutes
you?
later.
Yes.
You're playing it now, aren't you, Steve?
It's more like, I'll be there in 5, roll the dice. Come in!
Okay, I would like to play it to see what all the hoo-ha is about, because I have never played a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne game, so I'm going into this as a complete noob with a complete blank slate.
Yeah, which is why I want to get you to play it, actually, because you'll have that view of not having this background to rely on. It'll be interesting to see whether you think it's a good game or a bad game, just based on it purely being a board game.
Sure. That'll be interesting to see if I side with Mr. Vassal or Mr. Tudor. So the gauntlet has been thrown down. Okay, we'll give that a go.
I'd definitely like to play it again. If it's anything like the Bloodborne games, I quite enjoyed those. So,
are they on PC now, or are they just sort of PS4, PS3?
Dark Souls is on PC. I think all 3 Dark Souls games are on PC. Bloodborne isn't, because it's a Sony exclusive.
Right, okay. Because that's Lovecraftian, isn't it? They put a Lovecraftian bent on it.
Oh, yeah. In fact, Bloodborne is one of the best Lovecraftian stories outside of Lovecraft I think I've ever seen.
Ooh! And that's on PS3 or 4?
4.
Damn it!
Although, if you play these games, it's actually difficult to try and work out what the story is. They don't spoon feed you the story. In fact,
no, they don't.
But
is this? I think we probably talked about this about a year ago when we first started. Actually, is Dark Souls kind of a pseudo sequel to Demon's Souls?
yes,
Okay, yeah. So it's part of that whole sort of continuation, right? Because Demon's Souls had a reputation for being crushingly difficult, and I see the tradition has continued.
I'd definitely say the same is true of Bloodborne. So it sounds like there's a good chance Dark Souls is very much in the same vein.
Excellent. Okay, well, we'll give it a go. And I will maybe flip the table if I get bored.
I'll give him 2 minutes.
I don't know.
I give him the second time he dies. Second time. First time, he'll go, all right, okay, that's how it works. Second time, son of a bitch!
No, I'm going to murder him. Okay, we'll give it a go.
So one game we've all played, though, and we did this via the medium of interpretive dance. I mean, Tabletopia.
It was definitely interpreted. There was a lot of dancing involved because you were in and out of that room more times than the bloody hokey cokey.
Well, our host was.
That's
so
true.
the game was Farsight, and we were playing it on Tabletopia,
which I think we all agreed wasn't as good as Tabletop Simulator.
No, there's a few little frustrations about it. Like, you can't zoom out quite far enough. So maybe it's just the implementation they've got, because I think it was like literally only been released that day or something. The Tabletopia version of it, that is. But I found I couldn't zoom out quite far enough to see the board and my stuff.
No, I had the same problem.
And trying to see all the cards and counts and things, quite often had to zoom in, like a long way, only to realise that it still doesn't contain the information I'm looking for.
I've seen it somewhere. Where the hell is it? Yeah, it's. I think from what Lewis was saying. Sorry, Lewis was is the designer and took us through the game. He was saying that I think Tabletopia seems to be better for developers, but Tabletop Simulator seems to be better for users, which is an interesting paradox. But anyway, Farsight.
So the game itself is basically, you have two sides of robots and infantry and that sort of stuff in a kind of hidden movement, shuffle around, try and beat the shit out of each other and hold on to some flags. At least in the version we were playing. I think they were saying that there are other variants as well. So they're going to move on to kind of, more stuff than just hold on to as many flags as you can.
Yeah, we just played the version where there was, I think, 12 strategic points on the map. And to win, you had to hold 8 of them at the end of the round.
Yeah, you have to hold them for a turn, so that's right, yeah. So I don't know I don't know, because we never actually got to that point, but I don't know, it wasn't clear whether you had to have them just at the end of that turn or whether you had to hold them for a full turn before you won.
I thought it was just the end of that turn, personally, but I could be wrong.
That was the impression I got as well.
Yeah. The reason why we didn't finish it, by the way, is because another thing Lewis said, Lewis from Braincrack Games, who are the publisher of Farsight, was that he reckons that Tabletopia added about 60% more time onto a game length. So a game that takes like an hour takes 2.5 hours.
Yeah, no, it's insane. It took ages to get everything done. So I think he did say that, basically, it's a good way to get the right time length on the box, time how long it takes on Tabletopia, and halve it.
That's about right. So the game itself, I think it's probably fair to say we all quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was. It reminded me certainly of things like Epic Space Marine by putting things down on the map, moving them a little bit, revealing a bloody great robot, and having every bugger on the map shoot the fuck out of it because it's more attractive than a wedding cake to a bunch of dieters.
Yeah, so basically the board is kind of divided into squares. Most of them are sort of generic, kind of open terrainy kind of things. There's a few special bits and pieces like lakes that you can't actually travel through, mountains that give you an advantage when you're attacking other things, cities and forests and things which give you an advantage when you're the defender. But essentially you're trying to maneuver your forces to get over some flags, and each time you touch a flag, you gain control of it. Well, each time you land on it anyway. Yeah, so you're just trying to maneuver your forces around the board to capture those flags and then hold on to them. Because each time someone else runs over them, they capture it back from you.
Bastards.
Yeah.
But the thing that's really interesting here is when you put those units on the board, you put them down face down. So at first, I was really worried this game was going to be like a lot of other games. I mean, we talked a few months back, and we'll discuss that again today, Andy. Remember The Edge?
Yes.
The Edge, which was on Kickstarter, and it looked quite interesting. I watched the gameplay video, and it just looked like, okay, here's my troops. I'm going to shoot your troops on a board rather than on a miniatures table.
Yeah, I mean, everyone went berserk for it because it had, really pretty miniatures. And to be fair, it did look very, very pretty, but it was one of these, let's go and buy shitloads of miniatures and a very mediocre board game.
It did look exactly like that, didn't it? We
Who
could be
says,
wrong.
having backed Deep Madness, and I'm now shitting myself.
But the beauty of this was you put these troops down face down on the table. So people could see these units moving around, so they knew, all right, you're moving a unit into the city on my left flank. But you didn't know if he was moving in a little podly bits of squad of squishy infantry.
Or some enormous piece of artillery.
Yes.
That's subsequently called dysentery.
Yeah, so that's the other thing, is that on top of all of that stuff that you're trying to do, there are, at the end of each round, I think it is, you roll basically to see how many events crop up. And these events might include things like something catching a disease or a tornado moving in, or things that are generally
storms. Yeah. Lightning strikes were quite good fun,
but they generally like target the board as a whole. It's not like you get to control them. You just kind of expose them onto the board. There are some specialist units as well as like the bog standard ones, like the infantry and the other bits and pieces. There's some specialists that allow you to do some other special moves. So things like the seer, which I had. I think our publisher friend unfortunately set up the deck slightly wrong, so we ended up.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, we'll get back to that in a second. We ended up with seers, which allow you to kind of reroll one dice per turn, and you get to pick to some extent whether or which events you choose to be in effect. So you can kind of control things a little bit with your specialists. The unfortunate side effect of having only seers on our team is that we didn't have any assassins, which meant that all the other special units, we couldn't actually get rid of them from the other team. The assassin character basically gets to play battleships. So you're guessing where on the board you think the other team's special units are. And they're things
there's a secondary board where you deploy these characters basically. So that
right.
Everyone has a sort of almost like a perspex sheet that you write on that you can wipe off, and everyone has 3 specialists from a choice of about 5, something like that. Saboteurs, assassins, spies, seers, as John says. Was there another one?
And supply lines.
Supply lines. There you go.
Yeah,
And
we didn't play with them.
No. And you can deploy these completely unknown to your opponents. You can put them anywhere on the board. Some of them, most of them were static. So once they're down, they can't move at all. But anything that comes within range of them can be affected. You don't have to affect them. But obviously, as soon as you affect something, you give the potential presence away. But as John says, the assassins can move around the board and target other specialists, but only other specialists. So if you haven't got an assassin on your side, you're kind of at a disadvantage.
Well, particularly when your side managed to guess where basically most of our specialists were.
That was not guesswork. That was astute and clever tactical calculations.
All right, you deduced a number of possibilities and you randomly guessed the right one first each time.
Maybe.
Which I would say is lucky, but
I think it's just genius. We're actually seers, me and Steve. That's what we are.
Or maybe just all of our brains work the same way.
Perhaps.
Where would John put it? There. It's there.
Shit,
God damn it,
guys. Fine, you killed him.
Yeah, so I was really impressed by that, actually.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with the hidden movement system, and I was really impressed with how slick it was as well. Because there was a few points, I think John struggled with this the most, actually. It abstracts a couple of things. So, like, for instance, every unit has got exactly the same amount of hit points. And you roll to attack, but you don't roll to defend. Basically, the other side does like a counter-attack. So rather than it being like, all right, I roll 5 hits, what's your armor roll? It's like, I rolled 5 hits, you're going to take 5 damage, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
What it did instead was when you were defending, you rolled a number of defense dice, and then you hit the attacker for that many bits of damage. So basically, combat was bloody nasty.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I mean, if you go into combat, you've got to be damn sure you're going to win it.
Yeah.
They're quite realistic in that respect because, you know, if you do go out and start shooting people and they start shooting back. It's not like you check, it's not like your armor absorbs a certain amount. Everyone's getting shot at the same time.
Yeah, it was good like that. I think it was really, really quite. I mean, there was a lot of times in that game where two people would start, one person would attack another one, and both parties would end up dead.
Yeah.
Leaving the city ripe for the taking for the little squad of infantry I happen to have running behind them. Ha 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 ha. Oh, hello, an undefended city.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I did find it slightly weird. Like, the one mechanic I wasn't sure about is the way that an infantry unit can take the same amount of damage as like an artillery piece. So if you attack an artillery piece with some infantry, it's hard. He doesn't get as many attack dice as some of the bigger kind of robots and things. But if you're playing the right advantage and disadvantages depending on like who's in a city and who's not, or who's in some woods and who's not, who's on the top of the hill, that sort of thing. I think maybe just because it was our first game, I didn't feel like I had enough control over it. So it's like, you got some infantry standing off against some huge mech and your mech dies. It's like, he takes the same amount of damage as some infantry that it's being shot by a mech. And somehow that just kind of grated against my sense of what seemed reasonable.
It did seem a little counterintuitive, yeah.
On the other hand, you could argue that, maybe it's a bit more realistic in the sense that if you've got some giant great mech, he's a great big target, and actually it's probably as easy to hit as some giant mech trying to hit some piddly little human with his missiles or whatever.
Yeah, so the human can sort of dodge out of the way because he's more maneuverable, whereas the mech effectively takes more sort of abstract fire, but ultimately, it takes the same amount of damage, for example. I don't know.
It's like a human trying to swat a fly.
Yeah.
The fly might eventually, lay something on him, but he's going to take a long time to actually swat the bastard.
I equated it to like that whole kind of infantry fighting tanks. Is it Saving Private Ryan, or is it Band of Brothers?
Band of Brothers, they do it a bit.
Where they ran up to the tank and put the satchel charge on and run off, isn't it?
Possibly both then.
It was a known tactic. Yeah, I've not seen either of them, to be fair.
Oh my
I
God.
know.
Band of Brothers is incredible.
Yeah, I've heard. I need to sit down and watch it.
Yeah, you should.
I never watched the second one, The Pacific.
No, I'd heard good things about it, but I'd heard mixed reviews about it.
It's not held with as much regard as Band of Brothers, so I've never got around to watching it.
Yep, same here.
So yeah, I think we all enjoyed Farsight, didn't we?
Yeah,
we did indeed.
I'd like to play. It's another one of those games. I'd like to play a few more rounds, really, and then I think I'd probably enjoy it more. Part of the problem I've got is I've got really shit memory. It was taking me half the game to get the hang of which cards did what, and because your cards are face down all the time, I'm like I have to keep on picking up which bloody cards are to remind myself which ones are which and which ones did which. I think that's part of the problem with the Tabletopia thing, is that I didn't have like a handy reference nearby me to remind me what that artillery that's down there actually does.
They could do a peek button in Tabletopia.
Yeah, or just a way of holding like the rules down the side of the screen permanently, so that you could just create your cheat sheet of that one's down there, no problem.
Yeah, I think that's probably more of an interface on Tabletopia issue than a problem with the game. But yeah, you're right, John. It did make it a little awkward in something like a hidden movement game where the only way to see the hidden things were to reveal them very, very quickly and hope that nobody else is watching at that particular time. Like, guys, look away, look away. Why? What are you revealing?
I'm pretty sure you guys had a perfectly good idea of what I was doing, because every 5 seconds I was like picking up another card, looking at it, failing to put it back down properly, and then, guys, this one over here is this is the artillery. This one over here, that's the infantry. Just checking you guys are all aware of this, right?
Oh yes, we're aware. Blam blam. But it's one thing that Lewis is doing that is, I suppose, slightly unique in a way. For the Kickstarter campaign is the fact that the game, the base game anyway, doesn't have any miniatures in it. It's purely just cards and dice and a few counters, which does keep it relatively cheap, because I think is it kickstarting at £45?
Yep.
But he is also doing a miniatures pack for it, which is sold separately for £45.
Yes.
But wait, it's a hidden movement game. How does miniatures work, Andy?
Well, when, for example, say when a spy, their ability is to reveal a hidden unit. So if a card is face down, a spy can say, right, I am going to reveal that unit, and it becomes face up, at which point, down goes a whacking great miniature. So it looks quite impressive. I mean, if it's a whacking great mech, it'll be there for a very short space of time, because every piece of artillery on the board will instantly target it.
Well, all the ones in range, anyway.
Yes, but so it's as Lewis admits, it's purely pimp. They're not needed to play the game, but if anyone wants to jump on the bling bandwagon, then it does give them the option, which I think actually is quite a nice way to do things. So people go into the project with their eyes open, as it were, that if they don't have to pay for stuff they don't need, but if they do want to pimp up the game, they can do.
I think we all enjoyed it.
We did.
We're looking forward to it. I might even be tempted to back that.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Wow. See, I can't afford to this month, as we discussed last time.
Because you've backed everything in the world, Andy.
Pretty much, yes.
Well, another game that you've played and we're yet to hear whether you're going to back, Andy, is Petrichor.
Yes. I received this a few weeks ago, and I've played it now 3 or 4 times, most recently with you, and also with our sort of Tuesday night gaming group last week. So 6 people have now played this game, and there's been mixed opinion of it. The idea behind the game is it says you're a cloud, but I think it's probably fair to say it's even more abstract than that. You are the rain.
Oh my God.
Oh, I know, this is going to appeal to the hippie in everybody. It's a very abstract idea that Petrichor itself is a word that means the pleasant odour that follows a heavy rainstorm after a period of dry weather or something like that. So that sort of nice smell you get after it rains.
Yeah, like damp concrete or wet mud or something.
That's it. That is Petrichor. There was a word for that. And the idea is, each player, up to 4 players, plays as the rain. The idea is that each player needs to manipulate the weather, essentially, in their favour in order to rain upon fields of crops. And each crop, things like cotton, coffee, wheat, grass, all that sort of stuff, each one has a different scoring mechanism. The idea is to win victory points, and each one has a different scoring mechanism. And if you put enough rain on a crop, it germinates and starts to grow. Some of the crops require certain weather conditions in order to grow properly, which gives you more victory points depending on what level of germination they're at. But the idea is really just most of the game mechanics involve manipulating the weather in your favour. So you can either create frost, sun, wind, or rain. And each one...
Hang on, the rain can create sun?
Yes. Well, you kind of... It's a little abstract.
Just hand wave past that.
Yes. Stop it with the science.
Yes.
I'm going to have trouble with this game, I can tell already.
It might be easier, John, if you go look up for a picture of it online, because...
I did have a quick look earlier, and...
You're none the wiser.
No. The idea is that you generate clouds which contain your raindrops. And if you've got enough raindrops in a cloud, it becomes a thundercloud. And if you get enough raindrops in a thundercloud, it will eventually just sort of dump its load, as it were, all over the field below. Stop sniggering in the back. And players can move clouds around, so they can sort of crash clouds together, which then combine, and you put everybody's raindrops in the same cloud. And the idea being that you're trying to put more raindrops on the floor than anybody else in a particular field, so you score more points. You can use the wind actions to move clouds around, or even raindrops on the floor. You can use a sun action to increase the number of raindrops you have in a cloud, which I thought was counterintuitive, but in a way it kind of makes sense because the sun evaporates water from the floor and then obviously generates clouds eventually later on. Again,
True.
Let's not go too much into the mechanics of weather here. Frost actions rather bizarrely create clouds. And rain obviously rains clouds. So it's a weird game, obviously, to describe, and I'm sure you're probably none the wiser having, listened to my diatribe for a couple of minutes. But
So that's nothing new, Andy.
it's a strategy game above all else, but with a really abstract theme. And the first time I played it with the group, with part of our group on a Tuesday, the response to it was mixed, shall we say. Nobody hated it. It was a very enjoyable game, but most of us felt that the theme and the mechanics don't really fit together.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it's like one of our number described, like he pointed at the table and all of the counters and the board and the tiles and said, "That's a really good game," and then pointed at the rule book and said, "And that's a really good game."
Right, okay. It looks nice and there's a good game, but the two don't seem to be joined up.
Yeah, it's like almost that someone's had two really good ideas and tried to shoehorn them together.
Mm. That sounds like every time I think about designing a board game, I come up with a load of good mechanics and I come up with a theme and then think about how they'd go together and then go, nah, it's not going to work.
No, exactly. I mean, it kind of works because, I mean, again, I played it with Steve on Sunday and I have to admit, I kind of mellowed in my opinion of it because one of our opinions after playing it with the group was that there wasn't enough player interaction. It was very difficult to interact with other players' clouds because the only way you can do that is through the wind action, which we felt was a little weak. Everything else, you're basically doing it for yourself. So we felt it wasn't actually, considering it's not a big play space. There's only sort of either somewhere between 7 and 12 tiles, depending on the number of players. The field size basically grows, depending on it scales with players. So it's not a big play space. And even then, we felt there probably wasn't enough interaction or enough ways to interact with other players, to pull the dick move and be a bit of a scrote. It has to be said that on Sunday, Steve and I were interacting rather well. To the point of table swearing across. When Steve moved one cloud into my other cloud, ruining a perfectly good plan, at which point I called him something rather naughty.
Country music star.
Yes, a country music star. So I'm left in a bit of a quandary about it. It's pretty, very pretty, and it's a nice idea and very abstract, and it certainly hasn't been done before. But I'm also left with the feeling, and it's still bugging me after about 3 weeks, that I've played this before.
Yes.
It reminds me of a game, but I can't think what it is.
It sounds like Planetarium from what you've described and what I've seen.
No, very much no.
In the same way that you're running around trying to make things rain or pick up resources, and you're each affecting the same bits and pieces.
If in Planetarium, how you each have your own resource tray. So as you add elements to the planet, it goes into your own little resource stack.
Yeah.
If you played Planetarium with one shared resource stack, I think that's getting close to it. That's very close to how Petrichor works.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, that's probably reasonable. But it's not what I'm thinking of.
No, it's bugging me as well because I watched, mention him for the 24th episode in a row. I watched Paul Grogan's gaming rules video of this before I played this. And
there is an invoice, Grogan.
I kept thinking, I've seen this before, I've played this game, I'm sure I have. And it's been bugging me for the last week as well. And even when I played it, I kept thinking, there's a lot of this feels familiar. And the only thing I could think of was the way in which the resources move around is similar to Imhotep.
Yes.
Okay.
So Imhotep, when you're putting your cubes onto the boats, and then people can choose when boats sail, and where they sail to, completely screwing up your plan of where you wanted those resources to go. It's, again, as you said, it's similar to Planetarium in the way you move the planets around, and I felt this was similar in this. The way the game worked best was when you use those wind actions to move, like combine clouds and move clouds out of the way and into the way, to really just annoy your opponent. In fact, it was more fun making Andy swear than it was winning.
And you were very good at it, you bastard.
Yes. The other weird thing it was very similar to, and this really is a weird tangent, is the way the scoring worked was similar to Smash Up.
No, I haven't played Smash Up.
So I don't think either of you played Smash Up, but Smash Up is a game where you play cards down and cards have got strength, and you play the cards to bases. And then when the base reaches a set amount of strength on that base, it will score, and then there'll be 3 scores. So whoever had the most strength gets the first score, then second, then third.
Right, okay.
And they're not always descending. So a couple of the bases, the person who's in last place or second place actually gets more points than the person in first.
Right.
And that process was in Petrichor as well. There were a couple of crops where if you had the second most raindrops on a tile, you got more points than the person who had first. Does that make
Potatoes,
sense?
yes.
Second most.
So it was like whoever had the most raindrops on the tile scored, let's say, 3 points.
Yeah.
Whoever the next person had scored 5 points.
Yeah.
Then the third person scored like 2, then 1.
Okay, I'm with you.
So there's an incentive to try and not be the person who wins, but actually be the person who was second.
So you could easily like overstep the mark, basically.
Yeah.
You're aiming for high up the board, but there's an easy chance that you could go beyond that and get fuck all.
Yeah, which is it's something that Smash Up does quite a lot.
Yeah.
I quite like that bit. I like the way you did move those resources round. As I said it feels familiar, but I really did enjoy that bit. What I didn't enjoy was the voting.
No, that was weird, and I think I don't think the voting worked, to be honest.
No, I think you won the game just based on how you voted rather than how you manipulated the board.
I think they're too powerful, yeah. Basically, as part of your action, when you basically had a set of cards, and they represent the 4 pieces of weather that we've already talked about. When you play an action, you play a card, it's basically that action. And then that allows you to vote on what kind of weather will follow the action round. So if you play a frost card, then you can vote on either the frost weather or the one that follows it next in the cycle. It's on the board. It went frost, sun, wind, rain, I think it was, in that order. So you can play that. You play, say, a frost card, you can play frost or sun, for example. So if you play wind, you can play wind or rain. And you're allowed to vote on that. And then the weather rounds, so the weather actions, actually have slightly different effects to the card actions. They're similar, but generally the weather ones are slightly more powerful. So you can choose to influence or try to influence that round of the game. And if one of the particular weathers takes place, because the two weathers that have the most votes will occur in sort of turn order, and if you happen to have the most votes of that particular weather when it happens, you win a voting point, essentially. And then if you win more and more votes, the scoring ramps up really quite quickly. So you can end the game on, if you win 4 or 5 votes, you can gain like 25 victory points just by doing that, which, to be honest, I think in a lot of ways is actually more points than you'll score just from, raining water on fields.
And it felt like I should have been concentrating on that rather than actually raining.
Yeah, I thought it was distracting.
Yeah. I know, it's that whole thing of giving you another way of collecting points, so you're not beholden to one aspect of the game, but it just felt like too many points for just winning a vote.
I do find it frustrating when you've got a game like that that's really heavily themed, and then by far and away the way to win is often nothing to do with the theme. It's like some extra mechanic they've chucked in there and isn't quite balanced as it should be.
Yeah, that was the thing. I mean, one of the things we felt, actually, when I first opened the box, and one of the guys in the group felt exactly the same way, is when you open the box, you go, oh, this is quite, cute and whimsical and nice and pretty and stuff. And then you start reading the rules, you go, oh, no, this is not what I was expecting at all.
In what sense?
Well, you're expecting, because, if you look at the artwork and you see the game with the little sort of fluffy cows and stuff, you're thinking, well, it's not a big game, physically, it doesn't take up a huge amount of space, and you're thinking, well, this is quite a lightweight game. But it's not at all. It's quite deep, very strategic, and I suppose, you don't judge a book by its cover and all that, but I just don't think it fits. It's too heavy for the theme, I think. I don't know, something just doesn't quite work. It's difficult to put my finger on it. What do you think, Steve? Because you've played it, do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. It's the artwork especially makes it look almost like a kid-friendly game. All the little the crops,
exactly,
little cartoon crops, like the potato's got a face, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Potato.
I don't know if it's supposed to have a face.
Is it a bit like watching Sausage Party? There's all like cute little bits of food and it's all good. And then suddenly, Jesus Christ, they're taking me skin off!
That's not quite like that, no.
I did not leave that game feeling dirty and used.
Sausage Party, if you haven't seen it, is an absolutely brilliant film, but it's...
I thought
it was. It's the only film I've ever seen that's made me think that Team America was a bit tame.
Wow. I have to see this film.
Yeah,
I love Team America.
Yeah, you'll love this, Andy. You will love Sausage Party.
Awesome.
It's just about 3/4 of the way through, it just goes somewhere else, doesn't it?
It knocks it way beyond 11.
Excellent. You can't even see the line. It's that far away.
It's not even a line anymore. It's like a point.
Excellent. Right, I'm going to have to borrow that. But that's the
How
thing
have you
about...
managed to equate Petrichor and Sausage Party?
It's a knack. What can I say?
It's not just my mind that works in mysterious ways. But you see, that's the thing. It's a very... I don't know. There's a non-gelling, as it were, of theme and mechanic.
Yeah. It's an interesting theme. It's just... Yeah, you're right. It feels like as if you'd have made this game about resources, like Imhotep is, about moving resources around of some description, like goods or, I hate to use the bloody theme, but moving spices around ports in Mediterranean or something like that.
Yeah, almost like you're moving goods around a market. You got a massive, great market.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stalls you want to move goods to and sell them for the best price.
Yeah.
That would work.
It wouldn't have felt as disconnected. It wouldn't look anywhere as nice, and you'd probably just go, this is pretty dry and boring.
Yes.
But yeah, you're right. It's that there is this weird disconnect with the way some of it works. And as I said, I don't understand why you're voting on a weather.
I can see why they've chosen to do it, so that you can try and influence the game. I don't think it's the best way of doing that. I think if you were just playing those actions, then you just automatically get that. But then again, you're basically multiplying up a set of actions. Like you play a sun action, you can vote on the sun, for example. It's kind of a double whammy. I don't think there should be that limit if you're going to vote. I can see kind of why you do it, because you want to be able to play your actions tactically. But if you're playing a sun action, why would you want a weather action as well? It just seems a bit, I don't know, multiplicative. There's a big word.
So Petrichor manufacturers, designers, publishers, the PHC has spoken. We like the game, but you need to retheme it.
Change all the artwork. Actually, the artwork's really good.
That looks lovely, actually. And
retheme it and then use the artwork in a new game that fits the...
So here's the question, actually. Would you back it? It's still on Kickstarter now. I think it's got a few days left by the time you listen to this.
Yeah.
Would you back it?
No.
Is that just because you've got 1,000 going at the moment, Andy?
No, it's not. No, I wouldn't back it. It's. I don't think it feels right for me. It's not ideally my sort of perfect game. I mean, I like strategy games. Don't get me wrong, and moving things around a tight board and being a dick to other people is great fun. But to me, it just doesn't work. I don't think it's... I mean, it's not a bad game, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's nothing like other stuff we've played that we've actually hated, but I don't hate it. I just don't think it works that well.
Fair enough.
See, I'm slightly torn, actually. I like it, but I don't think I like it enough. do you know what I mean? It's that kind of...
Yeah.
I was actually going to try and build up the page to see how much it was, and my other thing is I'm not quite sure. It's
$45,
£10. Yeah, I think 10... No, I suppose we argued this, didn't we, actually, on the day? Didn't we work out it works out about £35?
Yeah, which, to be fair, what you're getting in the box isn't dreadful, because there isn't a huge amount in the box. It's basically a bunch of little sort of cardboard tiles, well, fairly big cardboard tiles, actually, by the time they finish with it. I know David said that they are making the field tiles bigger. He knows that.
Oh, okay.
The
that makes
board
sense.
itself isn't particularly big. It's maybe 25 centimetres squared. And you get a lump of these little sort of cardboard slot together clouds, 3 dice, and a bunch of tokens, and a pack of cards. And that's it. It's not a heavyweight game. There's not a massive amount in the box. So we were talking, I mean, when I looked at that, I thought 30 quid tops. But so it's on Kickstarter for 35. I think you pay 45 with the expansion, which I suppose isn't bad. I mean, I wouldn't say it's outrageously priced, but I think it's probably on the upper limit of what would be considered reasonable. But then again, board games are getting more expensive, so maybe we need to adjust our expectations.
I think we need to update our expectations 10 or 20%, to be fair. I honestly believe that we are at a point where we keep saying, I'd pay about £35 for this. Oh, it's 50 quid, is it? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So, board games have gone up recently.
God damn it.
I'm still torn. There's a few days left to decide we'll see how I feel.
Yeah. No, it's not for me.
I'm thinking I might not be able to afford it with Games Expo coming up soon, though. So,
And the fact that you've just backed Gloomhaven.
yes.
See, cat's out of the bag now.
So, yeah, we don't hate Petrichor, but at the same time,
I think ambivalent is the right word, isn't it?
we're not tripping over ourselves to go back it, are we?
No. I think there are other things I can focus on, like the clay discs in brass. Pimp.
So what else have you got in your bag of stuff to sort out, Steve?
Another game me and Andy played via Tabletop Simulator recently, which was, it's a good few weeks back now, actually, isn't it, Andy?
It was a while. Yeah, I'd forgotten I'd played it.
Oh, yeah. Hashtag ramshackle.
But then again, I have slept. You turn the brain off, you turn it back on again, it's forgotten everything.
Is your brain like pulling the socket out of the back of the PC?
It's not even. It's pretty much.
It hasn't shut down properly.
No, I've got to scan for 4 hours to make sure the drive's integrity's okay. That's why I need 2 cups of coffee and a kick up the arse every morning, because my brain just won't turn on.
And at the end of it, it tells you that it's not right, and you go, yeah, carry on anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. Yeah, your brain is broken, Lewis.
Mode. No,
be fine. Just reinstall the drivers; it'll be okay. There's a critical hardware fail here. Be fine.
So what game did you play?
So the game we played was Ravage: Dungeons of Plunder.
Ooh, it sounds intriguing already.
Which is, it was a dungeon crawler.
Oh, this one, right? Yeah, I know what you mean.
Andy's back in the room.
He's managed to reformat that bad sector on the hard drive and found
I
it.
have, yeah. Drive scans just completed. You have 27 bad sectors. Would you like your operating system to repair those bad sectors? Oh, yes, please.
So Ravage is, as I said, it's a dungeon crawler with a couple of twists. First of all, rather than having your usual, barbarian, elf, wizard, and dwarf, you will instead have a band of orcs.
Okay.
So you are playing orcs rather than humans, elves, and dwarves and what have you.
So it's a bit more like, what was that game? Dungeon Keeper.
No.
Okay.
Because Dungeon Keeper would be you're setting up the dungeon and waiting for the people to attack. You're still going into the dungeon and hitting things.
Okay.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of hitting things.
This is the interesting thing. The currency in the game was teeth.
Or teeth,
Right.
actually, with an F.
Yeah.
Well, they are orcs, right?
So how do you get teeth? Well, you punch things in the mouth.
Yes.
Fair enough.
It was a good mechanic. Wallop!
So basically, what you had to do was you had to go in there and hit things. You couldn't be a wuss and stand at the back and be all tactical at the back. You had to go in there and smack things.
Tactical, he
as fast as
says,
you can.
mincing with his arms.
For the listeners.
He just kind of did jazz hands there.
That's Steve's tactical sign language.
And just imagine Sir Douglas Haig, planning the strategy in World War II and no, World War One even, wasn't it, Douglas Haig? In World War One, planning the strategy by waving his arms around. Well, to be fair, that's probably not too far from the truth, if Blackadder is to be believed.
A daylight charge across the minefield. It's the last thing they'll expect. Oh dear.
So the other thing, the way this game works a bit differently is to level up to get experience, you can only get experience by rolling the dice, which you get whenever you attack or defend. And when it comes up with one of the, I think it was a star symbol, wasn't it? You basically moved your experience along a little bit. And once it got to the end of the rank, you could improve one of your skills by basically flipping over the card and going to the advanced side. So you had I think 6 skills depending on your character class, didn't you? And each one of those
Yeah, something like that, yeah. And the more stars you rolled in combat, the more you could... Because you could advance about 2 or 3 lumps in one round of combat, which was quite good.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel like a slog.
So what sort of skills do you have then?
Well, your character was like a shaman, wasn't? Well, actually, no, mine was a shaman. Yours was like a witch doctor. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Just like the song, the Aqua song, yeah. If you remember that from the 90s.
No, don't. We're not going down that rabbit hole.
No, it wasn't Aqua, it was the cartoons, that's right.
Moving swiftly on.
Why does my brain remember that? I want to get rid of this bad sector. Purge it.
Ting tang, walla walla bing bang.
Exactly.
Ting tang, walla walla bang bang.
Oh, dear.
And now you've got that in your head.
Thanks
it
for
never
that.
leaves. It never. It just lies dormant for some time, and then
It just gets
nothing
quieter
goes.
for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, the character I had was like a shaman type character, so he had like some rune kind of weapon which you could improve, but most importantly, one of the abilities was to turn yourself into a crow, which means you could move around the map quick. But if you leveled that up, you could turn yourself into a bear.
Nice.
That was awesome.
So it's like, right, I'm going to level that up as soon as I possibly can.
Yes, I remember that. That was good. I was not quite a necromancer, but something not far off it, because I could raise a skeleton army, which was quite fun. It's like, right, Andy, you can level that up. You're fucking right, I'm leveling that up.
So you guys playing, is this a cooperative game? I think I missed that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you're all on the same side, adventuring together as one band.
Yeah, essentially you start off, and it's kind of, let's say, card-based, with tiles, basically, isn't it? You get I think it's a 3x2, I think it's 3x2 dungeon tile. And some of them are in different shapes, and they have exits in different directions. So there are little white arrows on some of the ways out of the tiles, and you can line those up with other tiles so you can match and essentially create a path through the dungeon. And some of them are in different shapes. So some of them, they don't necessarily have just like 3x3 flags, for example. Stone. Essentially, you might have, there's 3x2 spaces, but they're not all necessarily filled in. So you end up with like an L shape or a U shape or whatever. So you have to
Right,
just sort of walk around, and by the time you've sort of mapped it all out, you get a track through the dungeon. And every time you move, you take a turn, you generate one of these tiles. So you generate you expand the dungeon as you go, and in doing so, you can uncover bad guys and so on and so forth.
Traps and
Health fonts
well
and
springs
things.
of health spawns.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that you basically revealed a new tile and dungeon every turn.
Yes. Yeah.
So every time you went, you draw a new tile. So it was possible to kind of get quickly overwhelmed with monsters, because some of them would spawn a monster, some wouldn't. The other thing is because again, as I said, you gained teeth which you used to buy things by basically killing bad guys, and you gained experience points by trying to hit bad guys. And because this map was carrying on, expanding on every round, it drove you forward. It meant you had to keep going forward, and as I said, there was no turtling. There's no stand at the back and being the halfling character who's trying to shoot over everyone's head. You were orcs. You're there trying to get in there and get amongst it.
Yeah, it was good like that.
It was actually a game in which your Leroy Jenkins strategy from City of Kings was actually a valid strategy in this game.
It was a valid strategy then, if you were trying to
really
learn the
wasn't.
game in a very short space of time.
Yeah, what did we learn? We learned don't fucking do that strategy.
We didn't die. We ran
weren't
out of
far
time.
off. But it was. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, if you've played either the D&D adventure games or Warhammer Quest, the old-fashioned Warhammer Quest, it felt like that, but I much preferred it to those two games.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more polished than them, perhaps, or...
The D&D adventure games I thought were really shallow and boring, to be fair.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot going on in this. It was quite engaging. There was always something to do, something to talk about, something to think about,
To worry about.
yeah, very much so. Yeah, because as Steve mentioned, when you turn over a tile, the chances are you're going to spawn another bad guy. So you had to talk about, well, which way do I go? Which way do I rotate this tile? Even constructing the dungeon had a strategy to it, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was quite a good idea.
I remember seeing this about the first time I saw City of Kings online. And I actually got a bit confused between this and City of Kings, because both of them have got amazing graphic design.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And everything about it was beautiful. All the artwork was beautiful. All the graphic design was beautiful and clear. And someone, which I think is Ian, I think Ian has designed everything. It says Ian Schofield, the chap who took us through the game. And my understanding is he's done everything on this. And
Very impressive.
everything looks pristine. I mean, it hasn't got miniatures in it. It's got standees, just like City of Kings had.
I was going to say, and you don't need miniatures to make a good game, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that, I think, we only play it in Tabletop Simulator, so we didn't see the real things, but because you had the standee of this artwork, which was really, really pretty artwork, it actually made it a little bit more evocative than miniatures would have.
Yeah.
Seeing these colourful standees, imagine that compared to several grey lumps of plastic, as it were,
Yeah, very much so. I mean, if you paint the miniature, obviously, but not everyone does that. So, but yeah, I think the standees definitely worked, and every bad guy was different. They all had different skills and stats, and they were very varied as well. It wasn't just General Chaos Knight or random skeleton du jour. There was some kind of creeping plant that held you down, and if anyone was nearby, they got spikes up their arse or whatever it was. And there were certain, I think the plant one that you spawned, Steve, that actually helped other bad guys, because if you were like within 2 squares of it or something, you suffered damage if they hit you, because it was a pain in the arse to fight against, something like that, which was quite nice. So you had an impetus to try and get rid of this fucking thing with Weedol before it got too big.
It sounds like my kind of game.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy it. I really do.
Yeah, I think you'd really like it, actually, John.
But it was cooperative, so no dick moves.
Yeah.
He sounds disappointed.
Unfortunately, John, I don't think you're going to be able to play this, because it is going to be at the UK Games Expo.
Oh. Sad face.
Don't worry, we'll play it for you.
On the plus side, I will get to go to Chicago, which is quite cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
And I won't get a divorce because I'll be spending my my wedding anniversary with my wife.
There is that. Whereas I get to spend your wedding anniversary with Steve.
I think you got both thumbs for that, Andy.
Yeah.
As it were.
But where did those thumbs go? That's the question.
Oh.
Join them at the UK Expo to find out.
I think we've just lost 10,000 people.
Again, a very small select group.
So yeah, Ravage Dungeons of Plunder should be on Kickstarter towards the middle of or end of this month. So I've been told the 18th of May it's launching. I'm not sure if that's still going to be the date. We'll see when it comes out, but we will tweet about it and Facebook about it and all the other wonderful things when it launches.
Indeed we will.
And maybe even back it by the sounds of things.
There's a potential for it, yeah.
Cool.
The last game I want to talk about is actually a game you two haven't played, and unfortunately, you're not going to be able to play my copy.
Well, that's rude. I feel shunned, do you, John?
A little bit, yeah. There's no need to look quite so smug as well, Steve.
I think we should mutiny, John. He's deliberately removing us from the game. That's rude.
Rude, but probably understandable.
All right, Tudor, what have you been doing?
So I've played Exit, The Secret Lab. Now, this is one of Thames and Cosmos's Exit series. It's one of these new escape room kind of type board games, of which there are several on the market at the moment. I think you've got one ready to go, haven't you, Andy?
I do. I have Escape the Room. It's some kind of Victorian murder mystery affair, which I haven't played yet, obviously, because it's a one-shot.
Murder, murder, murder.
Murder!
So Space Cowboys have also released Unlock, which is a very, very similar principle. My understanding is the Escape the Room system that you've got, Andy, is designed to be like a big party affair, that you do it like a murder mystery night.
Yeah, it's very much a party game. I think it supports a minimum of 3 or up to 8, I think it is. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be best with sort of 6 to 8 players. As you say, it very much says and gives the impression in the rule book, actually. It basically says, like, read this bit and don't go any further. So from the sort of blurb I've read, it's basically, this is a party game, get a few people round, few beers, couple of snacks, dress up like twats if you want to, and then crack open the envelope and party on.
That's obligatory for you, isn't it, Andy?
What? Drinking or dressing like a twat?
Dressing like a twat.
No. Depends how sassy I'm feeling.
You must feel sassy a lot. Sorry, I'm getting off topic.
So Unlock is the Space Cowboys one, which is app driven. So that one involves you to solve the puzzles and enter the solution into the app, and it provides you with tells you if you unlocked it or not. I assume I've not played the unlocked ones. It's probably going to be on my shopping list after playing Exit. So Exit, I think there's 3 or 4 of these boxes available at the moment. This one is the secret lab, which the idea is you are locked in a lab. Now, it says it's for 1 to 6 players.
Okay.
1?
So you can play it solo.
Okay.
We played it with 5 people. So I played it on Bank Holiday weekend after Sunday lunch with the family, basically. Thought it would go down quite well.
And did it?
Mixed. But on the whole, enjoyed it. The way this works is you get a little booklet which has got several clues in, but most importantly, a picture of the lab you're supposed to be in. You then have a deck of cards which reveal pieces of the puzzle and a little code wheel. And the way Exit the Lab worked was certain combinations of chemicals would then reveal a symbol and a number. And what you had to do was go to this numbered card in the deck. If you got it remotely right, it would say, right, the picture of this symbol on the image of the lab matches which item. So, for instance, like a wine bottle, and the wine bottle would have a yellow label on with a star.
Okay, yeah.
So if basically it meant you couldn't like pick up a card and randomly go over, we know that's the right answer, because what it did is it basically said, here's 8 options.
Right, okay.
So you had to have got all the pieces together. The other thing it did as well is if you were having trouble with some of the puzzles, there was decks of cards with clues in with all the same symbols on.
Yeah.
Oh.
So each puzzle had 3 clue cards. So the first clue card basically said, well, you need cards 12, 18 and 42 to solve this puzzle. If you don't have these cards, then you can't solve this puzzle yet. Then the second one would give you a hint, and the final one was more or less the solution. You're stuck. Here's how you do it.
Oh, okay.
So the way the game worked is it gave you a score at the end based on how quickly you solved the entire puzzle and on how many clue cards you used.
Right.
So the aim is just to solve all the puzzles so you get to the point where you can exit the room, because it's an escape room kind of problem, and then you get scored based on how well you've done.
Okay.
Okay. So it sounds a little bit like Time Stories.
Yeah, it's like Time Stories, but when you've actually got a real timer, so you've actually got a real stopwatch going.
Okay.
It's none of the dice elements of Time Stories. It's just like the puzzle elements of Time Stories, and that's it.
Okay.
So Time Stories has got a lot of things where you'll get into a fight, so you've got to roll dice to...
Yeah, and that's really bloody annoying, because every single time you roll 3 instead of 1, and you say, oh, for fuck's sake.
So it's like the puzzles that appear in Time Stories, but just those puzzles. And there's lots of different kinds of puzzles. Some involve deciphering clues, some involve physical objects that you have to move around, some involve drawing lines on things. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it'll give away what these puzzles are too much. And I'm trying to be very reserved in how I describe what this puzzle was.
Yeah, you give spoilers to this, you're going to get shot.
Yes.
How much replayability do you think there is?
None.
Right.
Absolutely none.
And how much does it cost?
I think these boxes are retailing for... You commonly get them for about £12 each.
That's not so bad. Yeah, because my Escape the Room's about a tenner, I think, so that's all right. About the same sort of price. So for an evening's entertainment between 5 people, 6 people, it's not too bad, really.
Mm.
And it's very different to your standard board game. It's a lot more involved, I think, in your standard board game. Now, the reason I say you can only play it once is I can't even hand this over to you guys to do it now because several of the puzzles require you to either draw on the cards, cut the cards up,
Right, okay.
and generally destroy the components. I think out of about 20 odd puzzles, there was about 5 of them which, if you went and did this, you'd have them done for you straight away.
Okay.
So it is a complete one shot. It's not even like, oh, I know the answer now, I'm never going to play it. It is, you are going to do this only once. Which, of course, is going to put some people off.
Yeah, it puts me off. £12 for a game I'm only ever going to play once.
I don't know, that's not so bad.
That's not so bad. It's cheaper than a round at the pub.
It's cheaper than the cinema, too, and it lasts longer.
Yeah, but still. For me, I don't know. There's something about board games. I have a smaller collection than you guys, and I tend to play sort of some of the favourites a lot. So, to me, £12 for a game I can only play once. Full stop. Seems like a lot to me.
Well, think about it this way. If you all chip in, there's like 6 of you for a 12 quid game. That's £2 for an entire evening for a one shot. That's not so bad, is it?
Yeah, so if I was playing with you guys, a one shot like that, fine. But a lot of the people I play games with, I'm already trying to find gateway games to get them into it, to even play the games in the first place. If they've got to contribute a few quid to play it, it's another barrier to entry.
I would say you're talking about gateway games. This requires no kind of concept of board games or any knowledge of mechanics or anything like that. There's no real rules to learn. The rules are basically you pick up this card, which gives you a clue, and here's how you enter in the solution to find if you've got it, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I guess for something like something to play at Christmas with a family, maybe it's a pretty good kind of group Christmas present-y kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I did. We played it on Easter Sunday. We played it after we'd had Sunday lunch on Easter.
Yeah.
So I played it with my mum, my dad, and my sister. And for that, it was really good because, as I said, if I'd have brought a board game out, my mum will play a board game with us, my sister will play a board game, my dad's not interested. He just goes in the room. But as soon as he found there's this puzzle we're all working together to solve, he was really up for it. And because it was puzzles and he was trying to, work things out. I do have a couple of criticisms about this particular one. I don't know if this criticism will go to the other Exit games, but there was too many instances where the puzzles were completely linear.
Right.
Oh.
So you had to solve them in that order. There's once or twice they branched off and you had 2 puzzles you could solve at the same time. And at that point, with 5 people, it worked brilliantly because 2 people look at one puzzle, 3 people look at another. Mm-hmm. But we found a problem where, I don't know if it's a problem with just playing this game with Amanda, but we found that one of us, especially me and Amanda, would get the solution before everyone else around the table would.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'd suddenly go, I've got it. Right, grabs all the cards, the answer's this. And at that point, everyone else would like, well, I want to have a go.
Yeah.
I want to see if I can solve the problem myself. So I thought, as I said, I don't know if it's going to be a problem with all the Exit games in the series or whether it's just the problem with this secret lab, but it could have done with more instances where you had choices to go, okay, you 2 look at this puzzle and you 2 look at this puzzle. That only happened about once or twice.
So a bit more interactivity, basically.
Yeah, it says 1 to 6 players, and I kind of thought with this one, 3 was probably about your optimum number.
Okay.
Because you want to sit all huddled round, and the other thing as well, there was it's only a little tiny booklet that comes with it. They've obviously tried to keep the component cost down. Mm-hmm. So the booklet that comes with it is quite small. And I felt because most of the clues involved looking at this booklet to know what the codes were, this booklet kept going, let me have a look at it, let me have a look at it, let me have a look at it kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, passing it around.
Could you, if you're all solving the same problem together, could you just kind of hold it to one side? I know you guys get excitable and, oh my God, I fixed it, I've got the idea, I know how to do it. Could you just hold that in a little bit and then go, right, I've got it, and then wait
Not
for
if you're
the people
against the timer, no.
You're against the time as well, remember?
Yeah.
Because surely the idea is that you want to solve it quickly and then move on. And if, 2 or 3 people in the group will just go, but I want to do that. We haven't got time. Shut up. We're moving on. They're just going to get, bored and fed up and feel a bit shunned, which is obviously against the idea of a party game.
Now, that being said, I think I'm going to buy a couple more of these.
Okay.
I think me and Amanda enjoyed it that much, we will probably go get at least one more in the series, probably the other 2 or 3 that are available.
Oh, there you go. You're hooked now.
So, yeah.
I might end up looking at some of the Escape the Room ones then, as a nice contrast. Although, yeah, we'll see. As a party, we'll see. I might be able to run one in the Wolverhampton crew. We'll see how that goes.
It'd be nice, actually, at some point for us to play the Unlock as well, and we could do a comparison of all 3.
Yeah. Okay.
John might not be as opposed to that one, because that's one you can sell on afterwards when you're finished.
I'm coming round to the idea. I just don't want to spend 12 quid on a game that I try to get other people to play and to discover that they don't like that one either.
So that was Exit the Secret Lab from Thames and Cosmos.
It certainly sounds interesting.
Yeah, Cosmos makes some good games, actually. There's a couple of favourites. I mean, they made Imhotep and they've made Dimension, which Steve and I played at Expo last year. You basically stack your balls up and score points.
I thought we'd agreed they were spheres.
That is referring to a podcast about
11 months ago.
11 months ago, yeah. Wow. Only the most hardened of podcast followers will remember that. And the childish sniggering that ensued.
I couldn't hold a straight conversation after that point. Because every time you guys mentioned anything to do with balls, I just lost my shit.
Snigger.
Right then, gents. I think we've outstayed our welcome yet again.
We always do.
We will be back very soon with a UK Games Expo preview special.
Ooh.
We're going to be talking about all the exciting games that are coming to the UK Games Expo this year, and definitely me and Andy will be chatting to them. We don't know if John's going to come along because we don't think he can handle the disappointment of not being able to see these games firsthand.
The expectation and then the crushing despair as he can't go, as he goes off to Chicago, because I'm sure that will be a fucking ordeal, won't it?
Well, someone's going to do it. I'll battle through. God, I hope Kaz doesn't listen to this.
Yeah, you're a strong, courageous man, John. Taking one for the team there by buggering off to the United States of America.
America.
That's 2 Team America references in the same podcast now.
That's not bad.
Well,
going.
certainly in the same evening. I can't remember if that was first captured in the bit I forgot to record.
What a dick.
25 minutes in. Oh shit, guys, I'm not recording. Andy, what?
John and Steve's faces fall. He's
Weapons
joking.
grade
He's just
face
being...
palm deployed.
If it's any consolation, I thought our Dark Souls discussion was better second time round.
I think it was.
That's probably true.
If only the listeners could decide, but they only get take 2. So if they still think it's gash, we've got a lot of work to do, boys.
I'm sure that much is true anyway.
Yep.
On that ramshackle bombshell.
It's not really a bombshell after 24 crappy podcasts, is it?
It's the way we sell it, I think.
Badly.
Thank you very much for listening. We have been Polyhedron Collider on the Polyhedron Collider cast. If you would like to speak to us, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we're on Google Plus for some bizarre reason. We are all over the internet. All you need to do is type Polyhedron Collider into that handy little search engine, and no doubt you'll find it all. And most of it's all linked from the polyhedroncollider.com website anyway.
Assuming you can spell the bastard. Is it just me that struggles with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, shit. I bet there's a few listeners out there.
I struggle with my fat fingers for some reason, can't get off the shift key quick enough. Every time I type it, it's got a capital C and a capital O in Collider.
I always have that problem with pretty much every capitalised word I make. I can't take my finger off quick enough.
I never have those problems, so we're all uniquely special at different things.
Yes. Anyway, we should be back in about 2 weeks for the Games Expo special. If you are a publisher and want us to talk about your game, get in touch pretty damn sharpish because you've got about a week and a half.
That's it.
If you are going to the expo or have any questions for us, you can ask us questions on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our forum on Board Game Geek.
Or in person at Expo. We'll even have T-shirts.
Some more faded than others.
I was going to say, yes, mine's slightly more faded because I stuck it on a hotter wash.
I would lend you mine, Andy, but it looked like a tank top on you.
It would look like my baby sister gave me her T-shirt.
Oh, I've just been a bit sick in my mouth.
I think we should probably leave these good people in peace at this point.
Yes. Thank you very much for listening. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Tatty bye.
I love the way we say good night when we don't actually know what time of day they're going to be listening to it.
Yeah, but it's good night for us.
Yeah,
It is. And it's good night
works.
from them.
And it's good night for you.